Hello, welcome to The Host as Guest. Today I'm joined by Jodie Odlin, the head honcho at the Hospitable Hosts and the founder of Tetbury Escapes. Jodie, you're busy. Quite a lot of titles, isn't it?
Yeah, it is quite a lot of titles. Hi, Leo. How are you doing?
I'm very well. It's lovely to see you, my friend. And I know I'm speaking to you today all the way from Brisbane. Tell us how you end up having a hosting business in the Cotswolds and living as far away from the Cotswolds as it's possible to live without moving to the moon.
I opened Tetbury Escapes about 8 years ago now because I was living in the UK. So I lived in a little town called Tetbury, which is where the king is. That's where he has Highgrove. And I opened my first short-term rental because I had a little cottage on the same land as the house that I was renting. And my short-term rental business just kicked off from there.
Really, really interesting. So when you first... So you started with one, which is very often the way people just. Was it a case of just throwing it up on Airbnb, seeing what happened? Like what did you think when you were going through it? You didn't think this was going to alter the course of the next 8 years, I assume.
Oh no, not at all. So I had been doing quite a lot of traveling with my family. We'd been living in Europe, and when we decided to go to the UK, it was just a matter of we had this barn conversion house which had a small cottage on the same land next to it, and we wondered what are we going to do with this house? Like, we can store our bikes in there, leave it for when people come over for a visit. And I just thought, let's try this Airbnb thing. And I had done a lot of travel in the years prior to this, so I was well aware of what it was like to be a good host or put together a property. And I also have a background in hospitality management, so I've come through that background as well. And I thought, well, I know what I like when I want to stay somewhere with my family, so I just set it up as though I liked it. I put it up on Airbnb, took some photos with my phone, and we just got bookings. And every week we were fully booked. And it was as simple as that.
I love it. Tell us more about that hospitality background and training.
Yeah, so a long time ago, prior to becoming a mother, I worked in five-star hotels. I started off on reception. I then decided I need to get some formal qualifications, so I went off to hospitality management school in Australia, in Sydney. And then I decided to embark on using those skills, and I trudged up and down the streets in Knightsbridge, handing my CV out to all of the hotels, and I bagged 3 jobs by the end of the day. So I worked at the Gloucester Hotel, which is in Gloucester Road, and I started off on reception and went all the way through the ranks to front office manager. So I loved it. Room division, guests, it was my thing.
I love it. So you've got one listing, it's booking like crazy. What happens next? What do you decide to do next?
So then lockdown happens, and I started to think, I have a little bit of time actually to poke around on the internet. I have 3 kids at the time. It was a really busy time of our lives. And I started poking around on the internet, and I came across this guy called Sean Rokovich, if anyone knows him that's listening. And he taught me all about rental arbitrage, or rent to rent. So with his skills with the skills that I had learned from him, I went out into Tetbury, into the town of Tetbury, and I found myself a couple of properties. So I got one property, which was actually the owner was already renting out on Airbnb, but he decided that he wasn't able to do it anymore. So I took it over. So he signed me up at the cottage was fully decked out with everything. I had to not change one thing except for the bedding and the curtains. He had these god-awful curtains in there. So we took those down and then listed that one as well. And that started booking out as well. And I thought, wow, there's something in that. And I became a really good tenant of his. And he had another property in the town which wasn't renovated. And he said to me, if I renovate it, would you like to rent it and do the same? Because he could see how well I was keeping the property. So it was kept in pristine condition. He'd also had a lot of student accommodation in Bath. So he knew the other side of the business. And so we could just see how well I was looking after it. So he actually renovated another property for me in the town. And then I took that over about 8 months later. But then I got another one and another one and another one. And now I have 15 properties.
Wow. And obviously not just with that partner, that you've picked up other partners along the way.
Yeah, I was lucky enough. I went to a viewing of a small apartment in Tetbury. All my properties are in the same village. And I explained to the owner what I was doing, and he said, "Oh, come with me. I have a grade 2 listed building that is almost finished being renovated into 5 apartments. Would you like that?" So we went over and had a look, and the vision was there. And we signed the commercial lease, and he even let me change the paint colors and change the color of the wooden floorboards and everything. So it was a really great partnership. And from there, he gave me 2 other apartments. So yeah, it just worked for me.
And for our non-UK listeners that are thinking, how does this apply to the markets they work in? Can you describe Tetbury? It feels like it should be quite a successful tourist market given its location, or is there more to it than that?
Yeah, it is. It's one of these little villages in the Cotswolds, which the Cotswolds is a country area in the UK, which is classed as an area of outstanding beauty. And when you think of little stone cottages and open fireplaces, that's the type of thing, buildings that are there. We're down the bottom of the Cotswolds, so we're close to Bath, so lots of day trips. But we also have 3 big wedding venues in the area. We've got badminton horse trials, which, did you know, Leo, is the biggest sporting event in the whole of the UK. It brings in more people than the football, Formula One. It's crazy. So it was just an area that I fell into that had all of these events, had the wedding venues, but there was not a lot of accommodation that people could stay in. So hence it just got very successful.
Yeah, very interesting. And let's talk more about tacking yourself around events. So you've been in the business now for quite some time. I'm sure when you started, you were very dependent on one particular OTA, and then which we've mentioned previously, is most people starting OTA, which is Airbnb. How's that evolved and changed in your business, and what ways have you found to minimize your reliance on Airbnb?
Yeah, so I during that COVID break, from seeing to guests every single day or weekend, I was able to do some really good research and, up my skills. So I got a direct booking website. I learned all about marketing my business, creating and not relying on the OTAs. The OTA was amazing for me. It just worked. We were fully booked. But as we've come out of COVID and, we all had that gold rush period, again, it was great. I was getting more and more direct bookings because of the marketing that I was doing. I started doing social media, had a Facebook and Instagram page, and people were starting to find out who I was, and also getting return guests, lots and lots of return guests. And I started doing some collaborations within the village. So that's one thing that I would, I kind of promote that I do, is I get the local village involved in my business, because it's purely is a collaboration. So I've gone to the local butcher. I bring in up to 92 visitors every weekend. So I've gone to the butcher and I've said, why don't you create these breakfast packs? I'll promote you. I don't get anything for doing that. But what it's doing is it gets the butcher on my side to promote my business. And likewise, it's a collaboration. So my guests are happy. They can go to a beautiful country butcher's and get their breakfast for the morning.
How do you feel the industry has changed in the short time that you've been involved?
It's changed a lot, actually. So prior to COVID and my learning on online, I just did my own thing. It was very successful. I didn't have all this automation. I just relied on Airbnb, and we had bookings flowing in. There was no outside noise. Then when COVID lifted, I started going to conferences. I didn't even know this world existed. I just was, as I said, looking at my own skills, at what I was implementing from being a traveller myself and my hospitality skills. But the industry's got so huge now, like with all of the OTAs, all of the software, all of the automation. A lot of it is there to help guests, help the host, but I think also it can hinder the host as well.
Very, very interesting. We know, let's dig through that. We know that the biggest segment of host is people with between sort of 2 and 5 properties, right? So we know that the group that you're in is the most common group. And I think we talked about this before, so let's sort of fill it in for the listeners.
Yeah.
That initially I think software companies in the space were building software for large hosts with 500 listings plus, or 100 listings plus, because it felt like an easier market to attack, I'm sure.
Yes.
There seems to have been a movement, and I think you've helped drive this, and we'll go into the Hospitable Host group in a minute, but I think you've helped drive this, of software now being targeted for the smaller hosts. Are you seeing that being the case? And again, you say it sometimes made things less effective for hosts. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, yeah, there's so many software programs out there now. I think people get overwhelmed, or there's a shiny object and they think that they've got to have that within their business. But actually, if you dial back, their business prior to that was doing very well. Like, I know one lady, and she has one property and she's got every add-on. She's got her own PMS. She's got every add-on that she could think of, but she's still not getting bookings. And she would be better focusing on her marketing rather than the tools, and all of those things cost money. So it's all taking away from your bottom line. So I do think as a smaller host, you have to be very careful. You can do this business with very well without everything, like the tech stack. Like, look at your tech stack, pull things apart. You don't need it all. Which is, I don't know if that's a good thing for me to say or not, but that's obviously it's my opinion. It's just my opinion. I think I was subjected to that. I started going around to conferences and seeing what was out there. I think, oh gosh, I need that, and I need that, and I need that. Before I knew it, I had signed up all these things, and then I'm looking at my bank account thinking, wow, where's all my profits gone? Oh, actually, I've pushed it all away to try and make my life easier, and in fact, it wasn't. So, you just have to be careful, I think.
The way I would describe it is make sure you're buying painkillers, not vitamins, and
yes.
and just review your tech stack, and also look at where you can generate revenue within your tech stack, because there are ways of doing that within certain products.
That's right.
You don't always have to it doesn't always have to feel like someone's got their hand in your pocket, right? Try and turn it around so that you see it as a business. But these are all the things. Like, what I guess you said you've learned that as you've gone on, and you've kind of cut things away, I guess, and probably become more focused on generating revenue from guests. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I guess so. Maybe that's just a journey that everybody goes on, right? You get a bit overwhelmed by all the choice that's out there, then you go back to the core of what it is that you're doing, which is hospitality and serving guests. Do you feel that? So let's actually go on now to talk about. So what sparked? So anyone who doesn't know, Jodie is obviously the head honcho of the Hospitable Host group, that are phenomenally successful, multiple best-selling books, and a mastermind group, and all sort of great things that you're going to talk about now. What sparked that? Yeah,
so it was actually at my first conference in London. I travelled down, and it was right out of lockdown. So everyone was, out there networking and so on. And I started meeting people like me, and I was just like, as I said before, I'm thinking, wow, I didn't even know this world existed. But as I started to meet other hosts, I realized that they'd come from all different backgrounds, and people were in this industry and they either weren't educated in hospitality. And for me, I think the core of this business is hospitality, but people had come through from all different walks of life. They either had to pivot their life somehow, or they, like me, had a property that they just stuck up on Airbnb and it became successful, or they went into it full on as a business. And I was just really interested in listening to their stories of how they got in the industry.
And do you feel that at that stage, everyone else in the group was having a similar experience, right? They'd just come out of lockdown, felt a little bit like they were the only person doing it. So it was all a bit like a big group therapy session, really, isn't it?
It was actually. It totally was. Yeah. So what happened when I started meeting these people? I thought, well, how can I? And I knew nobody in the industry at all. So I was listening on Clubhouse, getting to hear again everybody's stories from around the world. And I just thought to myself, how can I develop a core group, or how can I get to know these people? How can we share these stories? Because for me, I found their stories really inspiring. And I thought, well, okay, how about I gather a group of people and ask them if they'd like to be in a book and share their story of how they got to be in the industry. And it was to promote the industry as well. I thought it was a really good way to do that and really form a community. And the community it formed with the people that jumped into the project was phenomenal.
It's really, really cool. Do you feel that... and that's obviously evolved into being multiple books and I say in a mastermind group and a conference that I'm lucky enough to be attending at the end of April. What drives people's appetite to be involved in Hospitable Hosts? Do you think?
Yeah, do I think? Look, just to go back there, the first book became a #1 bestseller. Then it launched. People got reading the stories. And then I had all these people approach me, can I be in the next book? And I had no intention of doing another book. So then that one, I got 40 people into that one. And then that launched. And then another book came out. So within 2 years, there was 3 books. So 147 published authors were born. But what do they get out of it? So we put them through a whole program, not just to write, we don't say just write a chapter and hand it in. They go through a whole series of trainings of how to write their professional bio, which they can use throughout their business, how to write their chapter. We got them talking on podcasts. So a lot of people came into the project to share their story, leave a legacy, but also help themselves elevate themselves in the industry and to be a part of a community. So now when we go to events all around the world, it's like going to a school reunion. It's actually better. Like we got to know each other, for each book, it's about 9 months in total from start to finish. And we were having Zoom calls and doing trainings together. And I think that's one of the key things of why this project was so successful. It was the community that it formed.
That's interesting you say that, because I do feel like when I go to a conference, you look like you're the guys having the most fun, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. We do definitely know how to have fun. So, but because you know what it's like, if you're a host and you're doing it on your own, it's hard work. So then to go off somewhere to, learn some new skills, but to see colleagues in the industry, it's great.
And so you've gone from simply attending other conferences and writing a book to hosting your own. Why do you feel that the industry or your community in particular needs its own dedicated conference?
So what's driven me to put it together is for the last 3 years, I've been attending conferences all around the world. I've seen you at many of them. And as we've been at those conferences, we've been having book launches and having lots of great fun. But when I got to the conferences, there's a lot of people talking about occupancy rates, revenue management, automation. My PMS is the best. This is the best. That's the best. But nobody was talking about hospitality. which a lot of people think we're property managers, but we're actually in the hospitality business. Well, that's my thought of it. I'm a hospitality business. I'm not a property manager. I look after people as well as properties. So there was a key thing missing, and I just felt that we could bring in the group of hospitable hosts who are all really key people in the industry to be able to help educate other hosts in hospitality skills.
I love this because raising the standard of hospitality only helps our industry grow and further professionalize. Do you feel then at the moment there is a distinct lack of hosts focusing on hospitality across the board, or is it just that they're just not having the light shone on them and the opportunity to improve by sharing experiences?
That's a really great question, Leo. I think it's both. I think there are, many, many hosts out there in the world who are successful. They're doing it right in terms of, guest experience, making their guests feel welcome. But there's a lot of people out there that are more focused on the properties and what the property is doing and the revenue. And so you've got two sides of the coin. You've got the businesses who are in it for the revenue and making a lot of money. And you've got those hosts who do it because they love it. They're hosts with heart, so to speak. They're the old cottage industry of B&Bs, bed and breakfast in the UK, or little old motels where the owners, really did enjoy their guests or get to know their guests, why they're staying with them. So I do think there's two sides to it.
What in your business do you take full control of? What would you not cede control to anyone else to do? Is it signing the new properties? Is it, what is it about the day-to-day of Tetbury Escapes that is your favourite part?
Well, I like interacting with the guests. Like when I'm there, and I do get to go over quite often, and I check in and hang out, and I actually live in one of my apartments, so I'm right there with the guests, and I see them in the corridors and stuff. I love dealing with the guests. I do have a part of my agenda every Monday is I call the guests that are coming in that week just to see, just to give them the heads up of what the property's like, if they have any questions. I do really like that interaction with them. However, I must say, I have brought in an automation tool that helps me with my guests because I'm on the other side of the world. I was getting calls like all hours. They don't know I'm in Australia. So I implemented some automation, some AI, and it works like a dream. It's changed my life.
That's very, very interesting. Tell us. So I assume then, I love the fact that you do the calls on a Monday. I think that's perfect. That's like the handheld hospitality element, but you're mixing that with the AI to help you run and manage your business day to day. Thinking of actionable insights for listeners. What is that tool? What's it called?
It's called HostBuddy.ai.
And so for you, that means you can schedule messages are scheduled. The first level of interaction with the guest is done, right? So can't find the microwave. When's the recycling? When's the rubbish? That type of thing, right?
Yeah. So I schedule all my automated messaging through my PMS, which I use Guesty, and then I have HostBuddy as an add-on. Sorry, maybe you can cut that bit. As an add-on, and that answers all of my guests' questions, like where's the hairdryer, where's the lockbox, what's the code, where can I find this, what can I do here, what can I do when it rains? Yes, that's a question that has come up, and it must come up a lot
in the Cotswolds, right?
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, where can I buy more firewood? All of those questions, which are actually in my guest guide and the information that I do send my guests through automated messaging. But we all know guests need a little bit of hand holding sometimes, and it just allows me to sleep at night. And do you know what? It talks like me. It's amazing. I actually enjoy waking up in the morning. It's one of my first tasks that I do is look at what HostBuddy, I call it Haley, what Haley has told my guests. And she's spot on. Like, I have not had one incident where it's messed it up. And what that has done for me, it's not only allowed me to sleep and gain some control in my life, but it's given me great guest reviews because the guest thinks I'm there answering them straight away. They get, if it can't, it actually troubleshoots, Leo. So for instance, boilers, we all know boilers go down in the UK, right? So it knows how to troubleshoot with the guest because it has read all my past comms from the last 8 years, and it can troubleshoot with the guest. And most of the times we get to a resolution. If not, it just simply says, I need to escalate that to one of my team members. They'll be in contact with you shortly. Then it pings me, and then I can get on the phone to the guests. So they are handheld like the whole way through their whole guest experience with me.
Very, very interesting. Jodie, I love this blend of handheld and AI. I think it's perfect. And you're someone who leads with the fact that you're a hospitality professional, not a property manager. I share that vision for the industry too. I think that's phenomenal. Jodie, you've got 15 properties, and you're the only full-time person working on this. It's you and the AI, and then I assume cleaners, right, on the ground.
Yes, that's right.
So really, without the AI tool, you'd have to have more people involved, right? So the saving for you is phenomenal, right, with this?
It is phenomenal. And actually, when I left the UK to come and relocate back in Australia, I had hired a full-time person. And she was great. She was doing a really great job. But you know, she didn't like being woken up in early hours of the night either. And, you know, some guests need boundaries set as well. So with the AI, I implemented the AI, and then she just found that her job was no longer needed anymore. And she wanted to move on to do something different. So it was actually a really great split for me. And it just allows me to still have greater control of the business as well with the guests.
So with that in mind, you've got, you're able to manage this effectively on your own with cleaners who go into the property.
Yep.
There's a really good work-life balance that you've created with the AI involvement as well. Is 15 then your magic number, or would you, if there was a property you just couldn't resist, would you happily go up a few more, or is 15 really the limit for you?
Yeah, I may go up a few more, but I'm not looking at scaling. I'm happy with what I've got. And with the Hospitable Hosts and everything I do there, I'm very busy. I work 14-hour days as it is, and I don't want to work anymore. I'm on a mission to educate other hosts and to focus on hospitality within their business. And with that being said, that's why we're having the Hospitality Summit over in Colorado, in Denver, Colorado. And I'm very fortunate enough. I've met some great people in the industry who have taken me on as a brand ambassador, or they invited me to other conferences where I speak about this. And I'm all about raising the standards in the industry in terms of hospitality. It's key, and we need it as an industry. It's going to really professionalize us, and it's going to allow us the professional hosts to really step up, and the Yahoo cowboys to stay where they are or drop away.
Jodie, I love what you do for the industry. That's super, super interesting. And again, we need people shining the light on hospitality, how hospitality should be the focus. So for people that want to get in touch with you, learn more about Hospitable Hosts, learn how they can get involved and come to the summit in Denver, give us the lowdown. Yeah,
sure. So we have an Instagram page at Hospitable Hosts. That's where we promote everything that we're doing within the group. As Leo said, we have the summit coming up in Denver, Colorado, which is on the 30th of April and the 1st of May. Directly after that, we have a retreat which is really great. We're going to need some health and wellness after such a busy couple of days. But with our summit, it's I believe it's going to be something really special and very different to what's out there, because there's going to be, it's not the type of event where we're just going to all sit around and listen to some speakers preach and self-promote or have a sales pitch. This is going to be fully interactive, masterminding. Every single session or every single speaker has come up with a way that the attendees can walk away with their book, because we've got these workbooks, and they are going to be working on their business, why they're there, why they're in attendance. But we're also going to do some really great things. We've got some fun experiences coming up as well. It's going to be a great fun event, and I do believe it is going to be something a bit different. And the main focus and the only focus is on hospitality and guest experience. So if you want to know how to scale your business or looking at room revenue or so on, it's probably not the place to be. But lots of great networking as well. We've also got another thing, if I could, Leo, that we do in Hospitable Hosts. We have a give back program. So all the proceeds from the sale of 3 of the books go to 2 children's charities. And so we as hosts, as our community, we wanted to try and give back to our communities, whether it's at a local level or an international level. And so we're on a mission also to help hosts learn how they can give back to their local communities. So that's all a part of the summit as well, but we do some education on that within our group.
Amazing. Jodie, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us about your hosting journey and how that's transformed into the Hospitable Host community. It's so interesting. Just let me finish by asking the question. It's a very busy industry. It's a busy job, and you do a lot within it. Mm-hmm. How do you get away from it? How do you blow off steam?
Those good people in the industry all come together and collaborate. I go swimming, Leo. That's how I blow off steam. And I've just bought these fantastic, I've got them here, I'll show you them, these fantastic underwater headphones.
Oh, I love it.
I have started not swimming with them, but I meditate. So I'm a firm believer of meditation. So I stick these in my ears and I go for a float and I feel like I'm in space.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And that's how my energy levels are kept up. So I'm pretty energetic and high vibing anyway. So, but I'm into that. That's part of me that you might not know, but I'm also a kinesiologist. So I'm into all of that stuff.
Jodie, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us today. And I tell you what, I can't wait to see you in Denver.
Yes, can't wait to see you there too. Or the Truvy gang. Thanks, Leo.
Thanks, Jodie.